Hey there, I'm Elizabeth Henson. Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where I'm helping creative dreamers and overachievers tackle business and life. After 6 years of being my own boss, I finally unraveled a tiny bit of what it takes to survive in this amazing world of being an overly creative entrepreneur. I'm your business bestie, here to help you with all those big ideas and to normalize some of the day-to-day struggles that we all share. My mission is simple. I want more women to make a living doing what they love and to feel good about themselves in the process. The best way to start? We can't do it alone. So welcome. I hope you'll hang out with me here where it's totally okay to be messy. Hello, you guys. Elizabeth here. Welcome back to another episode of the Messy Success Podcast. I have all kinds of good stuff for you today. We're going to be playing a little bit of catch up, just letting you know what's going on. We're going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about leadership. And I don't have a big script. I'm just going to share with you guys some of my notes that I've been sharing inside Shine the Light Society. So every month we have our team meeting over at Team Wedmore. All the coaches, and he typically, we do group coaching. He teaches us. I mean, it's just like an incredible experience, and the energy in the room is always on fire. And I always leave these meetings with just pages of notes and kind of journaling. And I'm one of those people that I'm a journaler, in my mind. In my mind, I'm a really good creative journal person, bullet journal, washi tape, all the things, right? But the reality is I don't actually bring that into fruition very often at all. You guys have heard me talk about that with my dateless planner, the Messy Success Planner, and just my love of the bullet journal versus, having scripted things to do or to write. But anyway, I would always leave these meetings with really great notes. So I started creating digital versions of these notes, and I actually like it better because the digital ones are very pretty, and it's like what I've always envisioned in my mind actually coming to life. So for 2 months in a row, I have put together these Cliff Notes version of my journaling, and I've been sharing them inside Shine the Light Society just so that I don't forget some of these incredible golden nuggets and things that I'm learning along the way. And I wanted to kick this off with sharing a very brief conversation that I had with my business BFF, Angie, the other day about just watching some of the people in our industry, meaning the online industry, creatives, photographers, digital CEOs, course creators, doesn't matter, but seeing them evolve. And, specifically my mentor, James Wedmore, seeing him continue to grow. And I was looking back at some of his content from 2 years ago, some of his content that was life-changing for me, and then comparing it to where he is now, and the growth is incredible, right? Even someone that is what we view as super duper cream of the crop successful, they're still growing and evolving, or at least the good leaders are, right? The good industry leaders never stop learning and become this lifelong student and continue to set higher and higher and higher goals and tackle more and more fears. And of course, Angie and I looking back at the last 2 years, for us, the growth is immeasurable, right? And it's going to start being measurable though, because I'm starting to get better at my numbers. Little sidebar for you. But just knowing how much that we have grown and evolved in the last 2 years too, of course. But, I feel like that's supposed to happen, but we forget that everyone around us is growing and evolving. At least the ones, like I said, the ones who are showing up, the ones who are putting in the work, the ones who are willing to know nothing, right? One of the most valuable things or places that we can come from mentally is to know nothing, so that we can just absorb and learn new things all the time. So one of the first things that we're going to talk a little bit about is fear. And I've been sharing a lot of this inside Shine the Light Society. that fear is our worst advisor, right? Like our fears never give us good advice. So why do we continue to listen to them, to operate from scarcity, to operate from, I don't have any time, I don't have this, I don't have that? Those are all backed up by fear-based things. And we don't think so because we stay right on the surface. Well, what do you mean? If I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time. It's just physically not there. Like, it's just not there, right? Or money. It's not there. Like, it's not in my bank account. I'm like, okay, but what if we learn, instead of continually recognizing that it's not there, what if we start asking ourselves better questions? How do I get it there? How can I create more opportunity to have more time or more money? But if we're so focused on the lack of what we don't have, we're actually never going to find it, because, our physical body, or like our reality, is shaped by our internal narrative, right? Like, our narrative actually molds what's happening to us. So we just have to change the narrative. And I know we hear that stuff all the time. Just change your mindset. Just fix your mindset. And it is that simple. But that, just telling someone just change your mindset or just have a better attitude doesn't actually solve the problem. But asking better questions like, okay, cool. Well, what is one thing that you might be able to do this week to find an hour to yourself, to create an hour for yourself, to create extra revenue streams, and just kind of turn the attention to opportunity over circumstance. And I'm not just like saying these things to you. I've shared a little bit about my journey, and one of my biggest, scariest investments that's coming up on 2 years ago that I made, the biggest, scariest investment, and really struggled for about 9 months after this investment. Like, I spent every possible penny that I didn't even have, going into debt, so that I could have a maternity leave. I mean, the timing was just great. Good job, Liz. But I'm not just saying these things to you. As I was going through this really rough time, that was my mantra, is every time I started to notice the lack mindset and my attention go to lack, I had to check myself and say, how can I operate from opportunity instead of circumstance? I just continually said that to myself over and over again. All right, Liz, where can you find opportunity and not circumstance? And it was not overnight. None of this was overnight. Like I said, it was probably 9 months to a year before I really started to see the changes on the outside from changing the internal narrative on the inside. And you guys know I've always been an eternal optimist. Like, I am not one to exude negative energy, but I am very much human. And, when I'm struggling in any part of my life, I'm very much human. And I was having very much human thoughts around lack and stress. And it was not an overnight change. So I'm here to tell you, like, we can talk about these things, but you're going to notice what I call these little micro changes. These little micro changes, right? And my journey right now, because I feel like I've really seen improvements in this when it comes to business and work-life balance, and, even my stress level when it comes to, balancing work and my kids has changed. But where I'm still struggling to see improvements is just in my physical health. And you guys know I have so many ups and downs with this. Like, I had my episode about finding my gym, and my gym was amazing. And then COVID happened. And I haven't been going, to the gym as much since COVID happened, because it was closed, all these modifications. I don't really feel comfortable. And like every excuse in the book, right? So I've been working with a friend of mine who's also in my network, my James Wedmore network, and she helps entrepreneurs who are kind of athlete minded, like mesh the two together. So helping For me, it's helping me be as healthy on the outside as I am on the inside. She might help other people with the opposite, or being able to find that competitive community who's also entrepreneurs and athletes, because there are so many similarities in the mindsets and the work that they do. So I've been working with her, and I've been seeing these micro changes of just asking myself better questions. What would a fit and healthy person do? And a small little example is, one day I had told myself I was going to go running at 4:00, and something happened with the kids. My husband had to go somewhere, and I didn't get to do the exercise in the way that I wanted to. But I started asking myself, like, what would a fit and healthy person do in this scenario? And, it was so silly, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do some stairs in my house. I'm going to do some air squats. I'm going to do some lunges, whatever, hold Anthony, do some squats. And it was not much, but it was enough to say, like, I took myself out of circumstance and I created opportunity to be, do, have, or be, do, act like a fit and healthy person would. And that's what this is all about, is like changing the way that we think about things. What would the successful version of myself do? For me, right now, it's that constant, what would a fit and healthy person do? And trying to operate from that place instead of the person in the circumstance that doesn't have time, that doesn't have energy, that doesn't have, willpower, whatever it might be. So I don't know if that's helpful to share, like my struggle in real time versus the struggles that I've already overcome. But it always comes down to being able to find opportunity versus just sitting in our uncomfortable scarcity or circumstance. Okay, so back to fear. That was a little bit of a tangent. I told you I wasn't following a script today. So we want to make sure that we keep identifying the thing that scares us, right? And sometimes it might not look like a fear. Like for me, being healthier physically, it doesn't look like a fear. It looks like someone who doesn't have time. It looks like a busy mom of 3 kids who works a lot. But there's a fear in there somewhere, right? And I probably haven't even fully uncovered it yet, but there's definitely a fear. I know I definitely have the fear of failure. I fear that I'm going to continue to have these 3 months on, 3 months off, roller coasters. So there's definitely some fear there, but I'm sure there's deeper ones too. So to be continued. But knowing that if we don't conquer these fears, or if we don't continue to identify them, that they will eventually conquer us, right? Or it will continue. The cycle will continue. You'll continue to not start that business. You'll continue to not invest in Facebook ads. Facebook ads was a huge fear sticking point for me for well over a year. Because I was like, how can I do ads if I don't have money? How can I, again, don't, right? If I don't. That was operating from the have to be. I have to have money to be able to do Facebook ads versus how can I create opportunity and operate from someone who already has the means, to try and to start. So that's definitely a fear that I've overcome. And more to come on that, but we're making good progress, but it's all an experiment. Like even things like marketing and finding, ways to advertise and reach new people, like you're not going to figure that out overnight either. But as long as we continue to show up and put one foot in front of the other. And another great quote that I had written down from that meeting was, the willpower will get us started, but the why power is what carries us through, right? Think about that. The willpower gets us started, but the why power carries us through. So we have to appreciate, our why and make sure that our why is true and that we don't just start a business for, because we think it's going to generate revenue very fast, because that is not typically how it goes. Anyway, and then the last thing that we kind of focused on is just that fear is, based on our relationship with the future, right? So our fears tend to be connected to how we see the future, right? Do we see our future as abundant? Do we see our future as scarce, right? And you might think, oh my gosh, if I just save every penny now, then I will be rich in the future. Then I will be abundant in the future. But if you're not actually changing the way that you're operating and the way that you're finding opportunity, it may never change, right? It may never change. I don't know. I feel like I could go down a whole nother rabbit hole on that, but fear and finances are not quite my expertise yet. I do feel like I have so much to share from my specific journey and, being in tears over not having money saved up from maternity leave when I had Anthony, to all of a sudden, like, just having abundance, right? It feels all of a sudden. Of course it wasn't. Like I said, this is coming up on a 2-year process. All right, so moving on. This is just a random all the things episode. Okay, let's talk a little bit about leadership. You guys know I love the topic of leadership. This journal entry was really interesting because I was writing down a lot of my own thoughts, and I just remember thinking how, some of us do life first and then money, right? For me, some of my biggest takeaways over the last 2 years have been adjusting my life and my work-life balance and understanding that I don't have to work so hard to find success. And if you guys listened to my last episode with Joey, he talks about the effortless business model and how he really strives for his business to feel effortless, not just for him, but for his partners, his clients, everyone that he works with. And, I really started realizing that too. And I like to call it light and easy. What can I do to make work feel light and easy? And it can be like this whole thing that we have to work so hard to be successful is false. Like, are there people that work 60 to 80 hours a week and they're unhappy? They don't have their version of success? And then are there people that might work 20 hours a week and they feel fully successful? Like, it's actually completely unrelated. But for some reason, we all, we're all conditioned to think that hustle equals results. And I think there's a time and there's a season for hustle. There's a time and there's a season for that. But I think if we're always striving for effortless, if we're always striving for light and easy and asking ourselves better questions, again, asking ourselves better questions. How can this be light and easy? How can my podcast workflow feel light and easy so that I can continue to show up? Instead of, oh my gosh, how am I going to continue to podcast during a pandemic when my kids are always home, right? Like, asking ourselves better, more productive questions that come from opportunity. That is the key. If we're going to have any golden nugget, any takeaway from this episode, it's just learning how to shift our internal narrative and ask ourselves better questions. Questions that always bring us back to opportunity rather than circumstance. Just flipping our questions can completely shift the outcome, right? So what I was saying is that some of us do life first and then money, right? And then some of us kind of hustle, figure out the money. And then, oh crap, now I'm completely burnt out. Now I've got to figure out my life. But I prefer to do life first and just let money be a byproduct of life. And some of the most amazing things that I have learned about business, about myself, about growth, about self-development, they have nothing to do with money and everything to do with my perspective and the questions that I'm asking myself. And again, learning how to control my thoughts, how to control what I choose to think about specific circumstances. How do I choose to view this situation so that I can be in charge of my own outcome? How can I take responsibility for my own happiness? Take responsibility for my own choices, right? That control is mine and no one else's. And I feel like when we truly master life and how to live, the money part becomes easy. And this was just my thoughts that I was writing down. When we master life and how to truly live, money is easy. Finding time is easy. Setting our priorities is easy because we have now mastered our life and we understand that we are responsible for our own happiness, right? If you could take away everyone else's influence on your happiness, right? And only holding yourself accountable, it's a very freeing thing to do, right? Now, of course, like you guys know, I am an Enneagram number 2, and I am a recovering people pleaser. I care deeply about people liking me and what people think, and it is a daily struggle to remind myself I am responsible for my own happiness, right? And gosh, what was the quote I shared yesterday from James that was so good that had to do with this? I'm going to share it here because it was that good. And this is directly from James Wedmore's Instagram. I think something people need to understand is that disliking you is not a bad thing. When you are embodying your true, authentic self, it creates fear in people who still operate from their ego. So in order to grow and evolve, you must let go of the need to be liked. I don't think I'm there yet, if I can be fully transparent, right? Of like letting go of that want and that need to be liked. So are you still operating from your ego? Do you still feel judgments coming up about others, right? Like, gosh, things are so ugly and so political online right now, but there's nothing worse than seeing people out there just making fun of people for how they look or making fun of people for how they talk, right? There's no bigger, uglier ego in the way than someone who, has to get a rile on, is that even a word? Than someone who has to pick on other people to feel better, right? That's like kind of the ugliest form of that. But are you finding yourself, judging others? Are you holding yourself truly responsible for your own happiness? All right, anywho, enough of the opportunity over circumstance. I feel like that was a nice little brain dump for you guys. It felt really good just to brain dump some of those thoughts. So what else is happening? You guys, I think I have shared with y'all that I'm working on team building. My amazing integrator, Carrie, and I are putting together a new workflow for the podcast, which is not going to change anything for you guys as listeners. But hopefully it's going to help me prepare the episodes a little bit more ahead of time and then not have to worry about too much other than recording so that I can just continue to record good stuff for you guys. And if you've listened to my last few episodes, don't forget about episode number 52, where I share all about the Lip Bar, which is an amazing Black-owned company that I am supporting, and I am so excited to have teamed up with them. And it all started when I tried their Fast Face kit. And if you are like me and you struggle with figuring out how to girl, this Fast Face kit is totally for you, and it's all vegan. They're such an awesome company that is just supporting women and all different types of women, size, shapes, colors, helping them feel beautiful, and that beauty should feel effortless. And my favorite part is that you just go online and you pick your skin tone and they do everything for you. I think you get to choose like your lip color, but they narrow it down so that you know that you're putting together the right stuff. So makeup was always overwhelming for me because I'm like, I don't know what colors go together. I don't know what I'm doing. So they do that all for you, and it just comes in this perfect little kit, and it takes me like probably less than 5 minutes to put on my makeup every day. And you guys are sending me all the sweetest DMs about how good my skin looks and all that stuff. And it is all thanks to the Fast Face. Best brow pencil ever, by the way, if you've ever struggled with eyebrows like I do. Best brow pencil I have found, hands down. So make sure you guys go back and listen to episode 52, where you can get all of the amazing information about that company. Or you can just head over to the Lip Bar and use my code HENSON, HENSON, for 10% off of your Fast Face or anything else on the website. And I hope you guys will, because I truly love it and I absolutely love supporting these amazing women. All right, that is all for today. A short and sweet episode, but I hope you had some golden nuggets. I hope you had some good takeaways. I am going to go package up this episode so that we can practice our brand new workflow. You guys know I love sharing real things with you in real time. And I would love to know if you liked hearing kind of me just talking through some of my journaling, some of my notes, some of my own growth takeaways. Like, the podcast has never been a place where I'm just here to teach you all the things. Like, you guys are with me on this journey. You're experiencing my struggles with me. You're hearing all of these things that I'm learning pretty much in real time. Sometimes I don't know it's happening and I'm figuring it out and then I reflect back. But a lot of this stuff that I'm experiencing and working with Danya, my fitness coach, my entrepreneur fitness coach, and these are all real time, right? These are real things that I'm uncovering and trying to get to the deeper issues of why I can't prioritize working out. And I know it comes down to the people pleasing, and it comes down to everyone else has to come first, right? So trying to change my internal narrative around that stuff. Who do I need to be healthier, right? Who do I need to be to make better choices? So anyway, I hope you guys love this episode. Don't forget to leave us a review if you're enjoying the Messy Success podcast, and send me a DM, all the things. I love you guys so much just for being part of this journey with me and for listening, and I will see you next week.